What's going on, y'all, and welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a long time since you guys have last seen me. I've been traveling, working on school, doing all sorts of different things, so I know I have not been active on YouTube, but as you guys can see behind me, we are doing the Sonic Superstars review today. So tune in, check it out, let's get into it. Classic Sonic is back, and I mean that in the most heartfelt, positive way. As you all know, Sonic has been killing it in terms of media presence, and the games as of late has been fantastic. So when I saw the initial trailer for Sonic Superstars, I was sold immediately. I grew up with classic Sonic, and as some of you know, I even prefer it over the modern games. So Sonic Superstars, is this game a true successor to Sonic 3 and Knuckles? Well, I don't really care, and you shouldn't really either, but who cares? Is this a good game? That's what we want to know. Let's get into it. So a 2D Sonic and a 2D Mario dropping in the same week? Huh. That's insane to me and oddly nostalgic, but now that Sonic and Mario are friends, there's no need to pick sides. Just go ahead and buy both if you can. Mario Wonder review, that's on the way as well. I'm working on that as we speak. But today we are looking at Sonic Superstars, and I have quite a few things to say about this one. Just for reference, I'm playing this on the PS5, but the game is available on every platform. Oh, and spoiler warning, because I will be talking about some post-game content and showing later game footage in this review, so heads up. Right from the time you boot up the game, we get a Sonic Mania-like animated short, or better yet, Sonic CD, since that was the game that did it first. I love these. Not only are these a great way to introduce the story, but also a great presentation piece, and I hope Sega continue to use these for every 2D Sonic game they release. The title screen is also a throwback to the Genesis classic and 2D games. I love how it features the entire classic game here. It's cool. So starting with this game's presentation, I love, and I mean absolutely love how this game looks. Instead of going for the 16-bit aesthetic, Superstars opted for full 3D models that are beautifully animated. The models look great. Watching these characters in motion is fun. Even the wildly vibrant stages showcase many of the creative platforming elements, which we will get into later. But all in all, the game looks fantastic, and I love the way the cast of characters look. The switch to full 3D models was a great move, and they animate beautifully, so yeah. Now, gameplay wise, this is a classic Sonic game all the way in the way that I remember in terms of speed and physics. Now, this game does allow you to play as the 4 classic characters, Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy, and each character has characteristics and ability that makes them unique. Sonic with the drop dash technique, Tails' flight, Knuckles being able to glide and climb, and Amy with the double jump and Pico Pico hammer. Everyone has their personal favorite, so yeah, play with who you like and who plays to your playstyle. Now, I will say this, the game itself is definitely one of the most challenging Sonic games that I played in recent memory, and some people will even go as far as to say it's the hardest Sonic game they ever played. I can't say that I had a super hard time with these stages, which are extremely fun to blast through. Stages like Speed Jungle, where you're grinding on vines, Lagoon City, the water stage, Pinball Carnival, and more. I love the stages, and some of these have unique challenges that each stage presents. Now, the bosses, on the other hand, that's a whole different conversation. Now, the issue is not necessarily the bosses themselves, but more so how long these bosses can take due to how the bosses are choreographed. In older Sonic titles, you can easily hit a boss multiple times, and if you're skilled enough, you can get rid of a boss in seconds. Not here. You only have a small window opportunity to inflict any sort of damage to these bosses. There's also no checkpoints with these fights, so some of these fights can be extremely frustrating to play through, and if you die, which you will a lot, you have to start that boss all over again. Since this is a classic Sonic title, the main person of interest is Eggman. We also have Fang the Sniper, which we haven't seen since Sonic the Fighters and Sonic Triple Trouble. Oh, speaking of Triple Trouble, I highly recommend all my viewers to check out a fan-made project, a 16-bit remake of Triple Trouble by my guy Noah Copeland. I reviewed this project about a year ago, and I truly believe this is the definitive way to experience a Game Gear classic. Now, back to Superstars. Fang the Sniper is here, and I'm glad to see Sega acknowledge some of their lesser known characters and make them a part of the experience. Throughout the adventure, Fang will try to stop you, and it's up to you to put a stop to whatever him and Eggman has planned together. Very simple plot to a game that doesn't really need much of a story. The gameplay is where this game really focuses and shines. One thing that this game highlights in its marketing is the addition of 4-player co-op that I have yet to try. Matter of fact, I haven't tried any of the multiplayer modes if I'm being real, and I don't know if I have plans to. From the footage that I've seen, it doesn't look like it's much, but I could be wrong. Throughout the game, you can collect these coins, which acts as currency for you to purchase goodies in the shop for your online avatar. Pretty cool. Now, in classic Sonic fashion, the Chaos Emeralds are back, and I love how they're utilized here. First off, I love the special stages. It's kind of like the Spider-Man minigame where you're swinging all around to grab these Chaos Emeralds. But the cool thing is, once you collect an emerald, it unlocks a special power-up that you can use. Now, obviously, these powers are not mandatory because the emeralds themselves are not mandatory. But man, are these powers helpful. Anything from slowing down time to multiplying yourself and many more. Super cool. You get all 7 Chaos Emeralds. Supersonic is now yours to play freely or for the final boss stage. So once you collect all the Chaos Emeralds and complete the main game, now we have some post-game things to complete. So this is where I get into spoilers. So if you have not beaten Sonic Superstars by this point, you may want to pause this review and come back later. That's your fair warning. So after beating the main game, we're introduced to a new character named Trip in a mode for where we play the game from her perspective. This is essentially the hard mode for the game because not only does Trip play completely different from the other characters, but the enemy placement and stage design is a lot more problematic. You know, the bosses are more difficult as well, and to think you must complete this to get to the true ending is almost a hard sell, but oh well. And yo, that final fight with Fang, I hate that boss so much. Once you complete the difficult Trip story, you can now play as Supersonic and beat the final true boss of the game and get the real ending. And that in a nutshell is Sonic Superstars. So let's recap and talk about what I loved and disliked about the game. First off, I love the aesthetic. This is the best classic Sonic has ever looked, and I really hope future games retain this look. The gameplay is very solid and very reminiscent of the games that I grew up playing as a kid, with tons of unique stages and stage gimmicks that are really fun. Whether it's grinding rails, stopping a giant bomb from exploding the entire stage, or just hopping through this digital world. The Emerald powers are cool and a great addition to the series. I do enjoy the special stages. On the flip side, there were some things I wasn't crazy about. The boss fights and the lack of checkpoints. This is the most apparent with the final boss in the main story and the final fight with Fang and Trip story. Y'all, I never wanted to rage quit a Sonic game so bad, but after hours of dealing with his one-shot attacks, we finally got him. Even the Supersonic fight, they don't really give you enough rings to survive, and with the lack of checkpoints, if you mess up, you have to start all over again. Also, the music wasn't that impressive to me this time around. It was okay, but nothing I would replay on my playlist, you know? Overall, Sonic Superstars is a fun game. Despite some of the negative reviews that I've seen here on YouTube, it's a great game, and if you're a fan of 2D platformers or never played a Sonic game before, I would say give this one a go. So really quick, some homekeeping items. Number one, I want to thank all of you guys for continuously checking out my content. Every time I check my YouTube studio, the numbers are going up, up, and up. You guys are subscribing, commenting, interacting with each other, and I love seeing it. So thank you guys so much for the growth. By the way, another thing I want to tell you guys is I will be attending the Sonic Symphony down in Atlanta, Georgia around the New Year's time. I'll put the dates down in the description. So if you see me, if you run into me, if you are in the Atlanta area, just make sure you say hi to me or just say what up and we'll kick it, all right? With that being said, I thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next review. Peace.